Mm, I think I mean the first thing that comes to mind is doing the sort of like in the womb experience, and it was a very deep sense of calm. So I think that was very profound. And then at the end there, when we were all just sort of like laying together and just gently stroking and touching, real sense of togetherness and trust, which was really beautiful. I think there was a lot of fear in a way around the introduction to the idea of the orgy. Um, I mean, it wasn't deep fear, but I think there was a sort of a sense of challenge around it that uh, sort of like maybe triggered some sort of deeper fear of intimacy. So I think that came up for me a little bit there. There were times when we were sort of like trying to interact as bonobos, and I would just sort of like get this sense of like, oh, I can't do this. This is stupid, or that kind of idea. Like so there was those moments when you just sort of like come out of your actually you might be playing along really nicely, and then suddenly you just like get that sort of rational kind of like voice that says like, oh, this is stupid. So there were those moments occasionally. So I think the most beneficial thing was just getting closer to people in a non-verbal and physical way. Just sort of feeling that I feel like the experience I had with these people um, will definitely bring me closer to them as my friendships develop with these people. I mean, for the most part, I feel fairly comfortable with physical touch. Although obviously sometimes some people are easier to engage with physical touch than others. So I think for the most part the workshop allowed me to explore physical touch with people I wouldn't necessarily have explored that with. I mean, I don't necessarily learn this, but I think I was reminded that I really enjoy this kind of sort of a controlled environment to discover touch and sort of get challenged around. Well, really knew very little about bonobos. I just sort of done one workshop before, and I've heard a little bit about bonobos and their the more egalitarian culture. Um, but I feel like that information deepened for me for sure, and yeah, I think I've just sort of like somehow gotten just a deeper a deeper awareness of their existence in the world, really, and also the fact that they're under threat and need to be protected. I think also it just occurs to me that the context of the bonobo and then also the chimp workshop that we did, I think it just sort of made me think a little bit about sort of other perspectives of animals. Sort of take us out of our human mind a little bit and just sort of think about how other animals might interact and how their reality is very different from our own. Um, I think it will allow me to approach people maybe with a sense of a deeper sense of gentleness and holding and understanding that how important those things are for myself and for a lot of people need that. So I think the workshop allowed me to have that experience of touch, gentleness, nurturing, stillness with another person, and that's really valuable. One is, I think that when we learned the hand signals, we never really returned to that, or I think that could be something that could be explored more, like the come here and move closer and things. I think that could be sort of like a theme throughout somehow, because it's actually very directly connecting with the bonobo way of language. Um, and something else that occurred to me is like, I think sometimes there was a little bit. It was, some of the things we did went a little too quickly into group interaction or one-on-one interaction, and that there were sort of certain ways that we could maybe sort of like relate to ourselves with gentle touch and nurturing feelings. So that could be explored a little bit more, I think, of just sort of like before we begin to expand into interaction with other people, actually learn this stuff, for ourselves a little bit. Hmm, interesting. Well, I think that the first thing that occurs to me is to connect with the bonobo spirit is just to spend more time in nature, and maybe in nature, just sort of more intentional acts of self-love and self-nurture, and just really remembering that you know animals' whole lives are spent outside in nature, and really tuning into that level of existence, really.